May I set the record straight about something on Riverdale, actually?
Yeah.
I would love to do this on air. Recently, an article came out saying that we all fucked each other on the show. I did not touch a single person on that show with a 10-foot pole. May I just repeat that one more time? I did not fuck a single person on Riverdale. That's what happened. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It was just like this article that came out that was like, we all fucked each other all the time. And I was like, hey, no, I don't mix business and pleasure like that. I've never hooked up with a co-star. Do you know why, though? You know what's really ironic about all this is Cole sat me down during the pilot and was like, if I can give you one piece of advice, Mads. Do you have a cigarette? He was like, don't hook up with any of your co-stars, okay? And so I was like, okay, got it, I won't.
As he is. He's like,
hey, right. But you know what? Honestly, best advice I've ever been given was from Cole Sprouse.
Right. Do you think you'll ever rewatch it?
No.
What about when you have a daughter or a son?
I'm not letting her watch that. Actually, no, I will. I'm just kidding. I watched the pilot the other day and started sobbing. The show could have been so good. Like, I watched the pilot and I was like, this is what it could have been. But I'm also so thankful for it. Like, it's why I'm where I am right now. I met the friends I have. I love Cheryl Blossom more than anyone could ever love a character in my life. She was the most fun, psychotic, crazy woman of the planet Earth. And always a wild ride and always a challenge. So I can't complain. I think watching it would be, there's still like a bit of sadness about it ending. So I think it would be kind of like heartbreaking to watch because I was going to work and see my friends every day.
Wait, why did you watch the pilot randomly?
I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma shooting this movie and it was like recommended for you, Riverdale. And I was like, haha, okay. What's wrong with me? And I was also on like night shoot. So I was really overexhausted. I was like, I'll turn it on and go to bed. I watched the whole thing. I'm sobbing in bed by myself. My relationship with my father was really complicated because he has behavioral issues. And he would have extreme highs and extreme lows. And in the extreme highs, as a child, it's like you have the most fun dad in the world. It's like you can't live and breathe without that person being around. And then that person is ripped away from you and being cold to you and not responding when you tell them that you love them and getting angry at you and lashing out for no reason. And you think it's your fault as a child. Usually the issue was I became this like key to unlocking his good mood. So when there was bad things going on in the house, I would be called to come and fix the problem. So no matter what the issue was, if he was upset with my mother or my brother, I would be sent in to essentially disarm him emotionally. I remember one night I was out, and I won't detail what was happening at my house because it's incredibly personal, but I was out at a ballet and I got a call saying you have to come home immediately. I had like 16 missed calls and I had to come home and deal with a situation that was so incredibly unsafe and so disrespectful as a child to put me in. I had a lot of resentment towards everyone in my family for putting me in that position when they could have just gone to professionals and dealt with it properly. So it was tough.
How did you process any of this?
I didn't. Push it out of your head. Don't think about it. This is just the reality. You don't know anything different. I think I was struggling with understanding that he didn't not love me. I think there was still this like idea in your head when you're a kid that it's like so deeply ingrained with you that this person can't possibly care about me and love me if they're treating me this way. And I thought I'd worked through that. I thought as an adult, I understood that. But there was still that like little Madeline inside that was like, my daddy doesn't love me.
Are you single?
You know, I'm 31 and I am in a place in my life where I've been a public figure for 10 years. And I've tried to navigate my private and my public lives for a very long time.
In this phase of life, what do you want out of a relationship?
Okay, that's a great question. Consistency, kindness, love. It's like honestly not that hard, I think, to be in a good relationship. It's communication, support for my career. I think the hardest part is that I'm an actor and I naturally will have to go have sex scenes and do things like that. And so trust is really important.
What would you say is your best quality in a relationship?
How much time do you have? I'm a fucking amazing girlfriend. The shit that I've done to get here, like, I'm brilliant. I listen and I care and I'm understanding. I'm an incredibly good emotional communicator because of 9 years of weekly or 2 times a week therapy. I have a good group of friends. I have a good job. Like, I think that I'm kind of the whole package.
What was the worst fashion phase that you ever went through in your life?
Oh, I had like a full scene kid phase. I actually have gauge holes in my ears that I have to like wear stickers in the back of my ears to wear earrings. I had 00 gauges. I did it when I was in like 7th grade.
What is the story of your first kiss?
The one that I think of is my brother specifically said, like, there's this one guy who goes to this school that I hate more than anybody, and you cannot talk to him at this game. And I was like, you got it. Love you so much. And then I saw him and I was like, he's kind of hot. And then I'm pretty sure he became my first boyfriend for like 6 months. And my mom would like drive us around in our minivan.
What was the most random job that you worked before your big break as an actress?
I was a window salesman. I was on Craigslist and I was like, what's the highest paying job I can find? And by the way, I was getting jobs on Craigslist. I absolutely could have been murdered. And it was in Redondo Beach. And they were like, you go door to door and you sell windows to people. And I was like, bet. So I went and it wasn't working. And so I started waiting outside the houses till the wives would leave. And then I'd go to the door and like make myself cry and get the husbands to buy windows. I had a really high return rate was the problem because they didn't actually want the windows. They were trying to get the girl who's crying on the doorstep to leave.
What was your first like big purchase once you got your paycheck from Riverdale?
You know, I actually, every season that we got picked up, I bought myself a new Cartier ring. I have 7 Cartier rings for the 7 seasons of the show.
Do you remember like an early core memory of like the first time you realized like maybe your dad was struggling with mental illness?
When I was 8, my brother and my mother were in South Africa, and my dad and I had some sort of falling out over something. I don't even know what it was. And I told him I loved him. I was like crying and telling him I loved him. I wanted him to tell me he loved me back, and he told me he didn't love me. And he left the house. But I remember sitting there and being like, my father doesn't love me. Like, I did something very wrong. And I was calling my mom, and they're on a different time zone. And that was the first time she was like, this has nothing to do with you. This is fully your dad. And that's when I really first understood that. I think it took a long time and a lot of therapy because we don't use diagnoses in the household. So it took a lot of therapy for me to figure out what was actually going on.
How was that explained to you that like we don't use?
It wasn't. In fact, most of the time it was like, it's PTSD because my dad was in the apartheid war, or it's trauma, or it's just he's having a bad mood. And it's like, that's actually not what's happening. He has a chemical imbalance in his brain that makes him incredibly high and incredibly low. And it was frustrating because you're like, why do you not want to know? It will help understand and educate us on what's happening so it's not his fault either. Do you know what I mean? He's not trying to be like that.
What was it that made you want to initially get into therapy 9 years ago?
My relationship that I was in, my romantic relationship, was echoing very similar things that was happening with my father. I was on set for Riverdale in my trailer, season 1, and I had season 2, and I had a 15-minute call with her, and I was sobbing. In 15 minutes, I was like broken down. All my makeup was off. And I was like, this is obviously what I need to be doing. My relationship was obviously not great if it was echoing that. So the kind of impetus was dealing with that at first, breaking yourself out of that, and then getting into the weeds with your childhood stuff.
When you went back to the childhood stuff, like what did you find was the hardest stuff to start to unpack with a therapist?
Understanding that he didn't not love me. I think there was still this like idea in your head when you're a kid that it's like so deeply ingrained with you that this person can't possibly care about me and love me if they're treating me this way. And I thought I'd worked through that. I thought as an adult, I understood that, but there was still that like little Madeline inside that was like, my daddy doesn't love me. Working through that, it still comes up occasionally at 31, 9 years later. But I think that was the hardest thing was to really, truly at a cellular level, believe and understand that this has nothing to do with love or how much he cares about me. It has to do with fully him in a chemical imbalance.
Okay, so now talk to me about where you're at now through therapy.
Choosing partners was always tough for me. And I think now I'm really locked into what I want, who I am and what I deserve.
In the past, what was something that would have attracted you to someone that now you would
Loving me. Hey, you love me? Oh my God, so cool. I love me too. Let's do this. Like, could be that simple sometimes. Hey, are you hot and you love me? Like, let's go. And you're kind of funny? I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I just didn't know what to look for because I didn't have something to look at. If it feels like security, consistency, stability, even though none of those things were usually true in the relationships, if it felt like security, I was in.
What was the worst Riverdale plot line you ever had to act out?
Where do I begin? It's like there's so many going through my head, I can't decide. I had to act with my brother's dead corpse in a wheelchair for an entire season. Mind you, he died 4 years prior. His corpse should have absolutely rotted.
Right.
But I was like basically losing my mind and speaking to a corpse for an entire season. Can I change my answer? My actual answer is this is my Roman Empire, okay? When I became a witch on that show, Roberto, is this my camera? Roberto, when I became a witch on that show, there was one thing I told you. I said, I never want to see lasers coming out of my hands, okay? What did he do in the season finale of season 6? I'm like Scarlet Witching up in the air, singing and crying with lasers shooting out of my hands at a comet. At a comet that ends up wiping out all of Riverdale, which is why we're in the 50s in season 7. Hey, what? I see it every day. The meme of me like crying and screaming and like I just...
Madeline Petch, welcome to Call Her Daddy.
Hi.
Yay! You kind of want to talk about some things that you've never publicly spoken about.
My relationship with my father was really complicated because he would have extreme highs and extreme lows. I would be sent in to essentially disarm him emotionally. I had like 16 missed calls and I had to come home and deal with a situation that was so incredibly unsafe. I had a lot of resentment towards everyone in my family. I spent a lot of my life not loving myself because I was like, if the person who made me doesn't love me, how the fuck am I supposed to love myself? And it even affected my relationship with men moving forward as an adult because if I didn't feel needed, I didn't feel that connection. There was a moment in a relationship where I knew in my heart it was over. I stayed for a year and a half longer because I watched my mom stay forever. May I set